All right. Welcome back in. I am solo doing this tonight. Husky using his one sick day of the split. He had a over 45-year-old swim meet tonight that he had to go to, so had to take a day for that. So here we are. You thought the last couple weeks were a fast run back. Tonight is going to be even faster. Thought about bringing in someone else to bounce ideas and whatnot off of, but I've been told there's already some bias from us. So bringing in someone else that's biased probably won't help too much. So, and any other disclaimers I got going on? Yeah, anything that's wrong, just DM Husky personally, and it's all his fault. So we'll kick it off with some easy stuff, like perhaps the standings. Yeah, we're not there yet. You're going too quick. All right. Standings, nothing crazy as I leave Husky's beautiful logo over everything. Yeah, a little bit of a shakeup, I guess. Still feels like we kind of have A, B, and C tier with Conduit, Omega, New Origins, Hanmoon at the top, BLM and the Patriots at 3 and 4, and still at 5 and 6 despite them playing each other this week. GCCE and Dude Crew bringing up 5 and 6. Quick reminder that only the top 4 make playoffs. It goes match record, and then head-to-head, and then game record. So that is why Brown Lives Matter is ahead of Patriots. They have that head-to-head win over them. Otherwise, it would be flipped, and then GCC, I guess they have the head-to-head, but they also have the match record. So yeah, there you go. Standings, you already know that fun stuff. It's already on the sheet. So what you really want to know is how does this differ from the team power rankings? Let's see how it goes. Team power rankings, copy and paste, I guess, from yeah, I'll do the results after this. Probably should have done it before this, but oh well. Copy and paste, I guess I didn't realize that, but from the standings, team power rankings going to be the same. I think it was close. Husky and I only agreed on, I think, top lane and mid lane. Every other ranking that we did, we differed a little bit. But yeah, team power rankings looks just like the standings. So Conduit, Omega, they'll be there until they lose, I have to assume. 1 and 2 play each other this upcoming week at a minimum, if not back-to-back weeks. So that could flip-flop or change around, and then Brown Lives Matter, Patriots, GCC, Dude Crew. So NOH jumped up one spot, just swapped places with Brown Lives Matter, and then GCC swapped places with Dude Crew because they won. So, okay. Husky, anything to add? Nope. Sounds good. What actually happened in week 4 is what we're all here for. Week 4 results. We finally had one game 3 on stream. That was the middle one there. We'll start from the top down, though. Conduit Omega, a quick little 2-0 action over Patriots. So looks like Split 2 champion is the better champion compared to Split 1 there. So Conduit Omega taking the 2-0 win. Dude Crew falling 1-2 against GCCE. A nice stream. I kind of like that matchup. So it's battle of who gets 6th place. At least for now, there's a couple weeks left, but GCCE going to take that 2-1 victory after a little bit of a roll/roster swap around. And then New Origins Hanmoon, quick work with the 2-0 victory over Brown Lives Matter. So probably all aware of that, but there is what happened this last week. I don't think I was prepared to pull up the stats, so now we'll say which role are we going to do first for this week's power rankings. Poodle, quick with it. I think that's like 3 or 4 weeks in a row People are slacking, but support best role. Some would say, yeah, you gotta time it. You gotta time it correctly. So, all right, we'll kick it off with support. Most important role. Let's see how it shook out this week. We have Poodle25 staying at the number 1 spot. Star Ravenfire also going to stay in the same spot at number 2. WL Perfect Timer swapping roles from jungle to support. Going to make their support debut at 3. Adrian Legitness, Sapphire Gem, and Aspect of Noxus all going to drop 1 spot, really because of Perfect Timer slotting in there at 3. So kind of is easy to see how the changes happened. Yeah, so the wards make all the difference, right? So 1 and 2 play against each other this week, so expect maybe a shake up there. I'm sure that'll be a trend throughout all of these power rankings. But yeah, I mean, pulled out a solid week. I mean, pulled out the Milio again. I feel like we see a good amount of Milio this split from a few different sports. Pulled out the Milio and then a damage dealer with the Zyra in the perfect game there in game 2. Going to be tough for pretty much any role to lose the number 1 spot, unless I guess you lose the game or whoever's in number 2 just has a crazy game. Which there was a conversation between the admins on whether or not 1 and 2 was gonna flip this week, but we opted to say they're gonna play each other. So we'll see there. But Star Ravenfire, rookie to the split, I think. I don't know. Terrible memory. We'll see. But similar to Poodle, played a game 1 Enchanter, played a Soraka, and then a damage dealer game 2. You can call it an Enchanter. I call it damage dealer. Who knows? But the Karma game 2. So 2 solid games there. Perfect Timer coming into support. Some say it's a support main. Some say it's a jungle main. Who knows? But looked really good. Support. I think it was even in their loss in game 1 looked solid on the Nautilus 0313 there. And then a perfect game 0022 on the Milio game 2 for Perfect Timer. And then a solid Thresh performance in game 3 for their victory. First victory of the split. Adrian Legitness might be one of the highest ranked people, I think. I guess we'll maybe keep track of it and whatnot. But the winless team in the Dude Crew, Adrian still ranked at 4th. So did lose this week once again, but had a decent performance. Game 1 looks solid on the swing. Game 2, maybe you want to take that one back. Blind pick the Braum, which isn't the worst blind pick ever, but that one maybe was a rough showing overall for the whole team. And then game 3, not too bad. Had the Poppy into the Thresh, but just going to drop that 1 spot. Sapphire Gem and Aspect Noxus both dropping, I think, the lowest they've been all split. If I can open up the correct thing. I don't think Sapphire had a bad week by any means. I mean, only died twice both games. It's kind of a rough week overall for the team, it looked like. Not a lot of kills overall. Not that, that means everything, but played an Enchanter and a damage dealer. They have the same stat line? No, 024, 026. So nothing terribly inting, but not the biggest impact there. Blame the rest of the team. That's what you can do, right? If you're jungle or support. But you're gonna fall down to 5, and then Aspect of Noxus. Rough couple of weeks for the whole side of the Patriots. Aspect going to fall to 6th. Pulled out the Senna. Don't see too many Sennas. Not a big fan of it myself as a support player, but hey. Pulled out the Senna and then the Nautilus into the Zyra. Looked like a rough showing there. So, yeah, there is your after week 4 support power rankings. Okay, what role shall be next of the other 4 that we have left to do? No one's immediately answering, so sleeping at the wheel. Shall see what it's going to be. Mid lane barely going to beat out top lane, so we'll go mid, second. You got to be quicker. So, okay, you got 2nd place, Pando, so pretty close. So we'll go mid power rankings here. This one was another one that was, no? Let me check. Oh, yeah. Top and mid were the 2 that Husky and I were 100% the same on, so I guess you can blame both of us for this one. But at number 1, top of the board, going to stay number 1, Nightmare from Conduit Omega. CNG Joker making probably the biggest jump of the week, at least. Jumping up from 5th to 2nd. Drakenrich going to fall because of that jump, down from 2 to 3. Similarly for Pandora, I'm going to drop from 3 to 4 despite the win. I think 3 and 4, it was a coin toss on who was going to go where, but we can circle back to that. Pandora, I'm going to drop to 4. Full Shield, going to jump up to 5th from 6th. And looking like similar to support, the Patriots mid laner, the Lord JK, going to drop down to 6th. I don't know which one's more fun, going top down or bottom up, but we'll go top down. That's usually the easiest one, right? That's just sunshine and rainbows there. So Nightmare gonna stay at 1. I assume until they lose. We'll keep that trend going with probably all Conduit Omega players. They're probably all at 1 or 2, if I had to guess. But if I can find the game, Nightmare. Game 1, I think almost maybe lost a couple points. It doesn't really matter, right? If your team wins, you didn't really have to do as much that game. It didn't look like on the Oriana. Decent stat line, just nothing too crazy there. Obviously, we want the 15 and 0 stat lines, right? That's how you get points there. But no, did a solid performance on the Oriana. It was a game 2 row that kept you in the number 1 spot on the Hui. Not too many mid laners or supports like to pull out the Hui. I guess you could play an AP carry if you're into that kind of thing. But a perfect game 2 there for 8-0-14 stat line. Number 2, CNG Joker. I think Joker had been knocking on the door of climbing up the list for the last couple weeks. We've touched on it as being one of the carries on their team. Despite them losing every series except for this week, finally got that win. And especially in that game 3 on the Nefiri. Very, very much to blame for why they won. A couple other people did well on the team as well, but I'd say Joker played a large part on the Nefiri. And even game 2, you could say the Victor really popped off. Game 1, maybe more to be desired, but that's all right. Going to be enough to jump up to 2. Drakenrich falling 1 spot after the 0-2 loss. Played a was it game 1? Yeah, game 1 of Jungle. So I don't know. Maybe that helps you. I guess if your team loses and you play 1 game off roll, you only have 1 to go off of. But Drakenrich played Jungle game 1, and then game 2 back to mid lane. Despite the loss, looked like they played pretty solid on the Cassiopeia. So only gonna drop that 1 spot. Pandorum, whose team beat BLM, so the 3 versus 4 matchup just happened. Still gonna be behind Drakenrich. It was really close on who was gonna go where. 3 to 4 could have gone either way. I think just because of the nature of the niche, unique champs that Pandorum pulls out in the mid lane, whether it be tank or some top lane champs, sometimes maybe gets overshadowed by the rest of the team, despite them winning. Who cares about your individual stat line, right? If your team's winning. But when it comes to power rankings, it's kind of all on how you individually perform. So I think Drakenrich looked slightly more solid game 2. On the 0-3-4, pulled out the Susan in the mid lane for Pandora. I'm just going to go through the whole top lane pool in mid lane and see where they end up. So going to stay at 4, or move down to 4. Full Shield going to jump up a spot. I think it was strictly because of that game 1 on the Tristana. I think had a perfect game. Yeah, 909 on the Tristana. And what I think was their first game win of the split. So game 1 alone was enough to potentially move up. And then game 2 maybe on the Oriana left some to be desired, and the Malzahar looked solid. Solid enough considering how the game went. Game 3, so you're going to move up 1 spot there. And then the Lord JK. Back-to-back kind of rough weeks for the Patriots mid laner. It's going to fall down to 6th. Pulled out the Mel. We've seen a Mel a couple times this split in a couple different roles. Looked all right. Game 1, nothing too crazy. Didn't go like 0-10, 4-7-1, and it was okay. And then game 2, I think similar to last week, was just a rough showing. Went 1-8-4 on that Ari. Obviously played the number 1 team, but was at 4 just gonna drop those 2 spots. So yeah, there's your mid lane power rankings. All of 4 weeks in now, cross the halfway mark. All right, what role shall be next? Is top still there? We'll see if they get the vote. Top jungle or AD carry. and it looks like it's going to be AD carry, actually. So some say the role that gets carried by support. Some might say it the other way around. Who knows? All you got to do is do damage. Bot lane power rankings this week at 1. Once again, seeing the trend here. Conduit, Omega, AD carry. Concrete going to stay at 1. Nike Dragon going to stay at 2. Intelligence, despite the loss, is going to move up from 4 to 3. WL Sniper going to jump all the way up from 6 up to 4. Macho going to stay at 5, and Neon Sword going to drop from 3 down to 6. And so a little bit of a shakeup in this one. One of the roles that Husky and I think a few of them were flipped. This role, I think, obviously, said it a million times already, one of the more stacked roles. So any deviation in the gameplay and outcomes of the games, this is going to shake up a bit. So, but this one I definitely feel like it's, as of right now, like 1 and 2, you could flip it either way. 3 and 4, you could have flipped either way, and 5 and 6, you could have flipped either way. So kind of the 3-tier situation again, at least this week. We'll start from the bottom this time, I guess. So Neon Sword, one of the biggest fallers this week. I don't think had like the worst week ever. I think it was other people just had better weeks this week as far as 3, 4, and 5th went. Obviously they got O2, pulled out I think the smolder popped off last week, but this week left some more to be desired. Didn't really look like they had time to scale. It was like a 24-minute game. So, and then game 2, their team only had 6 kills, only had a 1-2-0 stat line. So maybe didn't have that many opportunities to do much. But again, it was kind of comparatively, as far as Neon Sword, didn't like hard enter or anything, just fell. Macho at 5, it's one of the 5th spot. I think every week, regardless of who's at 5, is always going to feel incorrect. Macho maybe could have moved up if you covered all the other players. You could say, despite the loss, Macho played it as well as he could, given the circumstances. It was game 2 and 3 if you had the chance to check those out. So Macho got the nod as far as being 5th or 6th. Just because the whole team was just out to get Macho. And, games 2 and 3, clear game plan from GCC of shutting down Macho. So pulled all the resources. And then, game 1 still looked solid in their win. Pulled out the Mel again. Surprise. I'm going to say it every week, I guess. Team still disrespecting Macho, giving him the Mel. I figured that would be one of the first bans. But hey, what do I know? I don't really play. So enough to going to stay at 5 there. Sniper finally climbing up the board. We figured it would eventually happen here this week, week 4. Going into week 5, it's going to happen. Sniper climbing up. Could have even made the argument to be 3rd on this list, at least because of the Patriots did lose. So could have maybe flipped them there. Even in their game 1 loss, Sniper looked pretty solid. Pulled out the Kaisa, right? Yeah. And then I didn't believe in the Yunara, but game 2 popped off. 10 kills, 10 and 1. And then after 20 or 22 80 carries off the board, that was definitely the target ban of the night. The 20 plus champions off the board, pulled out the Corki in game 3 and looked pretty solid on that too. So gonna jump up to 4 there. Intelligence jumping up a spot despite their team getting O2'd. I think Intelligence still had a solid week despite the outcome of the game. Went 5 and 4 and then 3 and 4. So obviously nothing spectacular there, but because Neon Sword dropped was really the reason, and because Sniper jumped from 6 to 4 is why Intelligence got the nod. Just because the 3rd spot was vacant, so naturally you're gonna get slotted in there. But again, 3 and 4 could have been flipped, and then 1 and 2. Should we even say anything? We gotta wait till next week, right, to get the who's the true number 1 AD carry of this split, but. Number 2, Nike Dragon, been on the upward trajectory since, I guess not since preseason, since week 1, we'll say, because that little dip there, but we ignore that week. Climbed up at 2, gonna stay 2, just unless this next week shows us otherwise. But was it Nike that had the perfect week? I think it was Kog'Maw and Misfortune, the perfect week for Nike Dragon. 0 deaths. That's all up to Star Ravenfire, I believe. It was definitely their fault that Nike had the perfect week. Who knows? But no, popped off back-to-back games. So going to stay at 2, and then Concrete staying at 1. Similar storyline. There was it one of the games? Yeah, game 2. I mean, you could say, hey, maybe Nike could have jumped Concrete. Concrete had the just 3-2 on that game 2, but 9 assists, and you didn't really need to do much more than that. Kind of a quick win there, 23-minute win in that game 2. So did what you needed to do, Concrete, to stay at the number 1 spot. There you have it, 80 carry power rankings of the week. 2 roles left. Is it going to be top or jungle? Looks like it's going to be top. None of the junglers are here watching this. They're smite practicing, I think so. Top lane, here we go. A role that Husky and I both 100% agreed on this week. All right, top power rankings. The first role that doesn't have Kondo and Omega in the number 1 spot, it's going to be Storm. Was number 1 last week, going to stay number 1. Roy going to jump up from 3 to number 2. Thundermaster jumping up from 6 all the way to 3. Kind of a similar situation as I touched on with Joker. Kind of knocking on the ceiling for a while. Popped off this week, so going to hop up to 3. BK is going to fall from 2 down to 4. And then Dude Caleb going to stay at 5. Tiny Fist of Fury going to drop from 4 down to 6. So it's a little bit of a shake-up here. We'll start from the top down. Storm going to stay at number 1 back-to-back weeks. People were telling me he was washed up, but I'm seeing back-to-back weeks looking like the best top laner. We'll see if how the number 1 versus number 2 matchup happens, how it goes this week. But set 2-2-2 stat line, nothing. What an interesting game whenever it's 14-6. All the stat lines kind of look odd, but Storm looked solid on the set. Obviously, last week looked really solid on the set, despite the average-ish stat line. Stat lines don't tell the whole story, I'm aware. And then popped off on the Urgot. I don't think we see very many Urgots in this league, but hey, 9-1-3 Urgot this week. Roy from Conduit Omega gonna jump up 1 spot after their victory. The Ornn 4-2-11. I've seen a bunch of Ornns. This split, and it seems like they always win. I don't know if they always win the game, but they always win the lane. Who knows? I don't know. Sneaky new tech we got going on. Ornn looks solid in that game 1, and then Mundo in game 2. No crazy stat line there, but you just have to be a beef ball on Mundo, right? So big chillin'. GCC East top laner Thundermaster going to climb way up the list into the top 3. Game 1 was kind of just a wash, but to watch, I guess, up there in the top lane. Didn't do too much, I guess. Neither top laner really did, and they lost that game. Pulled out the Vayne, sneaky Vayne. Don't see too many 80 carries get pulled out top lane sometimes, but it's one of the first this split at least. So nothing crazy game 1, but games 2 and 3 really popped off. The Malphite in game 2 was a big reason they were able to turn around that series, just targeting Macho. That was tough. Bunch of flash ults there from Thunder. 3-0-16 in that game 2, and then game 3 nearly unkillable, especially in the late game on the Scion 10-1 and 14 for Thundermaster. Really popped off in that series. BK's falling down from 2 to 4 after their Patriots 0-2 loss. Pulled out the Gnar game 1, 0 assists. Some say that's bannable, but 3-4-0 on the Gnar in game 1. And then Cho'Gath in game 2, 3-5-2. So maybe not a 10 death game in there, but seemed like more to be desired there in that series. Gonna drop down to 4. Dude Caleb gonna stay at 5. We might have caster cursed it. Who knows? As far as Dude Caleb just being a tank player, I think this was a series that pulled out 3 carry-ish champs, depending on how you want to build them, I guess. But game 1 went 1-6-12, so maybe not the best performance on that game 1, but they won, so who cares, right? And then 0-4-0 on that Silas, a rough showing. And I believe got the counter pick, so picked the Silas into the Malphite. So kind of a rough one there in that game 2. And then one of the, small lights of game 3 for the Dude crew was Dude Caleb. Played pretty solid on the Kled. 7, 6, and 7, but I think at one point had a much better stat line until it got to late game. but really looks solid, at least in that game 3. So gonna stay at 5. And then Tiny Fist of Fury dropping down from 4th to 6th. I don't even remember. Did Tiny Fist of Fury not play top lane game 1? I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I've slept since then, but at least had a sub. Alcoholic played. I think Tiny went mid, but who knows. Played the Ornn. Maybe I jinxed it from earlier. Went 0-4-4 on the Ornn in that game 1 loss. And then for sure went back top lane in that game 2 with a starting lineup. And then went 0-9-5 on the Shin. A rough week overall for the crew. I think 5 and 6 was pretty close. This week could have went either way, but because of Dude Caleb's game 3, he got the nod this week at 5. So I would ask you who's next, but I guess we'll do jungle. Nobody voted for it, but we'll go ahead and pull them up, see how this one shook up at 1. Gonna stay 1 is gonna be Key from NOH. Pelly Penguin gonna jump up from 3 to 2. GCC Tauroma making their debut as a player in Rivals League. Actually, I don't know. I don't know if they played in Split 1 or not. Don't quote me. At least this Split making their debut, and it's going to be Jungle. Going to come in at number 3. Eyesight dropping from 2 down to 4th. And then Jonikis jumping up a spot from 6 to 5, and Kama dropping from 4th to 6th. So, for all the people that are, in that 1 or 2 spot, because I don't know, was every role New Origins and Conduit Omega, the way to ensure that you're probably going to be number 1 is just to win this next week, right? So if you guys want to play it for fun, do what you want to do, but if you care about the power rankings, I guess, yeah, here's a way to do it. So you guys play against each other. At 6, Kama falling from 4 down to 6, I think kind of similar to a couple of the other players. They lost 0-2. It was like Kama that missed game 1, so didn't play game 1, and then came in game 2 on the Zinzao, went 0-6-2. So just a rough week for a lot of the Brown Lives Matters players. Jonikis jumping up a spot might have been more of Kama dropping, but I think Jonikis looked solid on the Jax in that game 1. Not a lot of kills, but the most assists on the team on a Jax jungle. So I think I touched on it on stream. I've been harassed by Jax jungle a few times in my solo queue games. Usually it's by getting a bunch of kills, but this time he went 1-2-16 on the Jax in that game 1, and then pull out the Skarner and then the Nocturne in the following game. So enough to go up to number 5. Eyesight falling from 2 down to 4th after their 0-2 loss. Similar trend with these Patriots players. Back-to-back rough weeks for the team overall. Starts with your jungler, right? So I pulled out 2 tanks. I don't even think I needed to look. The Amumu and the Poppy, 055 and 166. So tough overall for the team, especially if you're an engaged tank. You can't really do too much. So, but 1 kill overall in a rough week. It's going to drop down from 2 to 4. Tauroma debut at number 3. A really solid week from the team overall. That starts with the jungler, especially Tauroma played super aggressive. I think all 3 games. Played was it Trundle? I can't even think of the champion's name. Trundle game 1. I'd say solid performance there despite the loss. And then the aggressiveness from the J4 in game 2, 5-1 and 19. And then game 3, you could maybe hide half of that one. Getting a little antsy for their win, right? But who cares? It did go 1-7 and 15 on the Diana, but who cares? Your team won, right? So game 3, not the best jungle performance, but enough to beat out the 4th, 5th, and 6th spots. Pelly Penguin at 2. I think it was actually really close on who was going to be 1 and 2. Husky and I actually might have differed here on 1, 2. I don't know who did what, but that sounds good for the plot. We'll see. But Pelly Penguin at 2, going to jump up a spot. Prime opportunity to jump up to number 1. It was really close. I mean, did you pop off both games, I think? Yeah. So 14 and 3 on the Mordekaiser and 11 and 3 on the Zinzao. So could have been 1. We're just being haters, probably. That's what it is. But Key going to stay at 1, 4-1-4 on the Diana game 1, and then the perfect game on the J4 5-0-12. Enough to stay in that number 1 spot over Pelly Penguin despite it being super close. Alright, there is your power rankings. That means we have... You died too many times. I think that's what it was. And you KS too many times. Maybe that's what it was. I don't know. Something else. Got to go over something else, right? Yeah, predictions. That's what it was. What's happening in week 5? Who's going to beat who? Or lose to who? All right, week 5 predictions. We have... we'll start at the top. GCC versus Patriots. If you would have asked me before the split how this game would have went, I would have said Patriots easy 2-0. But Patriots are on a downward trajectory while GCC is on an upward trajectory. So I think this one's going to be a 3-game banger. Who's going to take it? I'm gonna go, if I'm assuming GCCE uses the same roster as last week, I'm going to go GCCE 2-1. If they use their original roster, I would probably go Patriots 2-1 or maybe even 2-0. That's how big of a difference I think, respectfully. So I'm going to assume they're using the same roster, and I'm going to go GCCE 2-1. I guess it would be an upset because of the rankings. But if you've watched the last 2 weeks, I don't know. I don't even know if it's an upset. Who knows? Conduit Omega versus NOH, number 1 seed versus number 2 seed. People were whispering this is the finals, the pre-finals matchup, as they actually might play back-to-back weeks to be determined, but could likely happen. Hey, I don't know, right? This one's a close one. I'm gonna go New Origins Han Moon 2-1. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna ignore week 1. I'm gonna look at the last couple weeks. They look like, I say, the best team, but if you count week 1, then I'm gonna say Conduit Omega's the best team. So who knows? I'm gonna go NOH this time around. If they lose, then maybe next week we'll be back here and I'll say the opposite thing. So I'll rock NOH with a slight upset, I guess you'd call it. And then Braum Lives Matter versus Dude Crew, the team that has not won a match yet. I mean, Braum Lives Matter had a rough week, but I mean, they played against a solid team. So Dude Crew had the opportunity to start making that playoff push. I don't think they're officially knocked out of playoffs, but it's not completely up to them on whether or not they make playoffs. I think a bunch of stuff has to happen. A good step in the right direction is, of course, beating a team that you could potentially jump. That's within arm's reach. Just 2 match wins away. I think I'm still gonna rock Braum Lives Matter. I'm gonna go 2-0. I'm gonna go 2. I'm not gonna overthink it. I already overthought it. I'm not gonna overthink it anymore. Dude Crew, they haven't won a match yet. I can't rock with them yet. So I'm gonna go BLM to win 2-0 in week 5. So, all right. There you have it. I think we covered everything. If not, blame Husky for not being here. Did I break the record if I can find the timer? Maybe. I think we've been getting close to 45 minutes, pushing 40 minutes now. So, all right, that's all I got. Power rankings. VOD will be up in a bit. We'll see if we get some community content this week or not. I'm sure it'll vastly differ from what we said. Who knows? Looking forward to that if it does happen. If not, we'll have the pick'ems come out, followed by Huskies hater takes if you're into that, unless you have hurt feelings, and then the breakdown to come out. I might spice it up, change it a little bit, little watered down, but we'll see. We'll put out some stuff this week. All right, that's all I got. That's enough rambling for me. Who's gonna be streamed? Terrible memories. So I'm gonna go pull this bad boy back up. I don't know the initial thought would be Conduit versus NOH, but I think one of those teams has already been streamed twice, so I'm trying to even it out. So I don't know. It'll either be GCC versus Patriots or Conduit versus NOH. It'll be one of those two this week. But I'm trying to hit every team twice, so that's the overall goal. We'll see. Don't want to commit to anything yet. So we shall see. Conduit definitely has been streamed. But yeah, maybe week 1. Yeah, there's a few teams that have only been streamed once and a few that have been streamed twice. So I'm going to get everybody twice. That's the goal. All right. That's all I got. See you this week for content. And if nothing else, see you on Sunday.